Hello everyone and welcome to Dux-Soup. Thank you for joining us. Just while we wait for people to join the session, I'll introduce myself. I'm Beth Baxter, part of the marketing team at Dux-Soup, and I'll be Giles's assistant today. I'll properly introduce Giles in just a minute, but to set the scene for today's session, we run Dux-Soup webinars every 2 weeks on topics designed to help you get more out of the tool. Now, whilst most of them are presented by Dux-Soup, by Giles in fact, we also love and encourage our users to come on and share their tips on using the tool. So if you're ever interested in joining us, we'd love to get you involved, just let us know. Now, we hope our webinars are really useful for you as a resource, and you can view all of the past webinars on the webinars page of our website. But at the end of every webinar, we, without fail, get tons of questions. So today we thought we'd give more airtime to you and let you ask us any questions you want to about Dux-Soup and LinkedIn. And when I say us, I really mean Giles. So for those of you that don't know him, Giles is our head of professional services and resident Dux-Soup guru. Basically, if he doesn't know the answer to your questions, then it's not worth knowing. Giles runs all of our booster and technical training sessions, and you can book one-on-one time with Giles via the services page of our website. So to warm you up today, Giles will be showing you the recently updated campaigns features, but then the floor will be open up to you, and this is how it will work. You'll all be on mute during the session. We have some questions which have already been sent in, so thank you for those. And we also have a questions box. I can see people have already been putting questions in the questions box, which is great. So if you have a question, just pop it in the box there and I'll present them to Giles to answer. So one last thing from me, you may have noticed my lovely Dux-Soup cap, and Giles's in fact. We're giving you the opportunity to win one, but you'll have to wait till the end when we share with you how to do this. So I think we're ready to get started. So I'm going to pass you over to Giles.
Hello and good morning, good afternoon or good evening to you wherever you may be in the world. And once again, thank you for joining us today. And thank you to Beth for the very warm introduction. I'm going to make the wild, sweeping assumption that the audience today is made up of people who are at least aware of what Dux-Soup is and what it can do. So I'm going to skip my usual introduction slide and dive straight in there. And it's the first time we've done a webinar dedicated solely really to answering as many of your questions as possible. So do bear with us if we have a few little hiccups along the way. Stick your questions in the questions box and we'll work our way through them. And we've had some come in advance and we've got a few answers for those prepared already. But just before we get to them, I want to take this opportunity to show you a couple of the new enhancements to our campaigns features, which is available to Turbo users. So at the end of the March, I should do the slides as well. That would be good, wouldn't it? So I'm going to just do the brief campaign overview, and then we'll get straight into the Q&A, and hopefully that will prompt some more of the questions. I can see Simon's already busy there on the questions already there, which is great. So at the end of March, we refined the campaign features in Dux-Soup Turbo. To add additional actions, improve scheduling, provide more flexibility to your campaigns, and to add some team functionality. And if you go to our blog pages, there's a URL there along the bottom, which hopefully Beth can stick into the chat box ideally. That's the blog post that's been updated to reflect the changes relating to how the campaigns work. And if I just come out of the slides very quickly and just show you how the campaigns now look. If I click on my Dux-Soup icon, hopefully you're all familiar with that, and we go down to our Dux dash here at the bottom right hand corner, and we go into the app here and we go to our drip campaigns. This is where you control your campaigns. As shown previously, you've hopefully seen all of this before. So you'll see here we now have an option to enable the team campaign option here. That's great because that means you don't duplicate the effort out to your team member that your team members are carrying out to. So if you create a campaign that's a team campaign, that campaign will be available to your entire team, and you can't duplicate effort. You can't enroll the same prospect into that campaign. You'll also find that you'll have a new marker at the bottom of the bottom here. Now I've not got a team account, but you see here we've got underscore FN, etc., etc. there. If you've got a signature defined, you then have underscore SIG underscore to sign off your campaigns with your own personalized signature. Because of course it duplicates the message, but you want to have your own personalization in there, of course. And what you can see now is we've got a connection request in here as previous. You can see all of these other actions that we can now create in our campaigns. So we can do a follow activity, we can do an in-mail activity, we can drag and drop these around as well. We can pick these up and move them around. So it's a much more variable feast, shall we say, than it was previously. Still a maximum of 12 steps in a campaign. That's still the same. And you can also define which environment you would prefer to use. Now, of course, there are some actions which can only be carried out in certain environments, and I won't go into too much detail there, but here you can set your preferred target here for that campaign, whether it's regular LinkedIn Sales Nav or Recruiter. And of course, we can those actions will be prioritized in that environment if it's available to be carried out. The other difference is that you'll see here that the scheduling is changed. And basically in this case here, if I enrolled a prospect into this campaign, the first thing that would happen is that the person would be followed. So Dux-Soup would open the profile, start following that individual, they'd get the notification. And it's only on completion of that step that in this case, the connection request will be queued up. And then on acceptance of my connection request, only follow-up message number 1 will get queued up. And then on completion of message 1, message 2 will get queued. What used to happen, everything used to get queued up in one go, but now it's basically queued up step by step, which gives you much more flexibility to change your flows and everything. Very quickly, Alexander, yes, Recruiter. I also mean Recruiter Lite. Apologies for that. So yeah, you have here all of those different possibilities. So you can drag and drop your campaign messages, you can move them around, shuffle them around, and you can see the scheduling is now after the previous action has been completed. So that's just some of the variations there. So let's just flick back to the slides a second. So I don't want to spend too long on this. I want to get to your questions. There we go. So yeah, you can now schedule direct messages, endorsements, auto visits, in-mails, and follow actions as part of your campaign. The changing in the scheduling, so the next step of the campaign is only scheduled on successful completion of the previous step. You can define your team campaigns to prevent duplicated outreach from your team members, and your customized signature is available on your team campaigns there. And the other thing is you can then also define which environment you would preferably use. So those were the couple of slides that I wanted to cover there, and I guess we should probably then head on into the questions. So let me just see, because I've got a couple of prepared answers here already, and let's make sure that we get those. So we had a question that came in. I don't have the name who it came from, apologies, but here we've got one that says, what's the benefit of upgrading to Sales Navigator and what are my options? So yeah, we've covered this in webinars in the past. I think we covered one back in March. So LinkedIn have what they call commercial or fair usage limits. If you run a free LinkedIn account, you're going to hit those limits if you try and carry out lead generation activities at volume. If you've got a paid account, those limits are always higher. And with Sales Navigator, you get lots of enhanced search features as well. So there are lots of benefits to having a paid account. There are more levels other than just Sales Navigator. So there's a premium version. I think it's called Premium, and it's based upon people who are job hunting. And I think that the price for that is around $40 or $50 US per month. Sales Navigator, depending on where you are in the world, I think it's anywhere between $70 and $100 a month. And then Recruiter Lite is an awful lot more expensive, depending on what you require. But yeah, we've got a blog post which sort of outlines all the differences as well around the different platforms and things like that as well. So moving on from that and kind of related to that, we've got daily limits. Everyone always asks about how many connection requests, how many direct messages, how many visits can we carry out. We've got a blog post here, and if you just go to our blog pages and put in the word safe, I'll tell you what, let's do it now because then it's easier to show you. So we go to Dux-Soup.com, we go to our resources page and we go to the blogs. Actually, the easiest way is just type in safe here. There we go, using LinkedIn automation safely. This one here, and what I can do is I can stick that straight in the chat box. There we go.
It's well, John.
We're completely on the ball. This basically outlines everything that we know about LinkedIn automation and the limits that they have placed upon the different accounts. It's one of those things where, yeah, we don't know, nobody knows exactly what their limits are, but we know that if you start slowly and you build up, then you will have more success. And the more success you have, the more you will be able to do. You need to target, so you need to build good quality lists. You need to make sure that you're engaging people in the right way with the right types of message, so you don't get flagged as spam, et cetera, et cetera. The more and the better you target, the better your engagement, the more you will be able to do. So we've had, for example, customers, for example, they'll start off sending 20, 25 invites a day. Over a period of time, they'll be able to grow and be able to send 60, 70, 80 invites per day on a paid account. I've never known anybody get over sort of 50 or 60 invites per day on a free account, I have to admit. And yeah, acceptance rates. Now, Beth, you had some information around acceptance rates, I think, from one of our case studies. Is that correct?
Yes, I mean, obviously it depends who you're targeting and with what message, but we've got some really nice examples actually of some of our users that have had acceptance rates going up as high as 70%. So what I'll do is I'll pop in the chat one of those case studies, and then you can have a look at those and read the kind of campaigns who they're going for, the kind of messages that they're using towards them. And you can look at some of our case studies. Let me just find that now for you.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, what I tend to believe, in every industry, every culture is different. The different approaches work differently in different areas and different industries and everything. Always say that if you're getting under 20%, under 15 or 20%, then you're not targeting well enough, and you could be flagged as, or LinkedIn could think you're just spamming people. Because if you just go and randomly visit lots and lots of profiles, you're going to get a certain number of people just connecting with you. I just see a message come in there. How do you manage the numbers per day, from Diane? So let's answer that straight away while we're here. Diane, basically, there's a couple of things you need to do. So how do you manage them as you go daily? As you go through daily, if you click on the Dux-Soup icon and you go to your options button here in the top right hand corner, first thing to do is make sure that you've got the expert user type menu enabled. If you're going just the regular user, then you'll have all of the default settings there. If you want to override the defaults, you need to enable the expert level settings here. And then from there, go to your throttling settings. And this is where you can control all of the numbers per day. And so you see here that I've got mine currently set up to send 30 connection. I'll tell you what, let's zoom in a bit. Might be even easier for you to see then, you never know. So you see here connection requests. I'm sending up to 30 connection requests a day. Now I've been doing a little bit of testing and playing around, so I'm varying the numbers all the time. Now I've also got a Sales Navigator account, and because I've got a Sales Navigator account, then LinkedIn expect me to open hundreds of profiles a day. I'm using it as a sales tool, as an engagement tool. So you can always overwrite these. You can check this box at the top here, and then you can choose what you like. And I saw a question there around Business Plus or Premium. You can see here our guided levels, that we know are safe. So free LinkedIn up to 100 visits a day, that should be fine. Business Plus up to 250 per day. Navigator 500, Recruiter 600. Those are the numbers that we know should be safe in visits. And visits is just opening profiles. And then of course, connection requests. Every time you send a connection request, then that counts as a visit. And then direct messages, of course, every time Dux-Soup sends a direct message or a follow-up message, or indeed an in-mail, that also counts as a visit as well. So this is where you can go in and control all of that as well. I can see a message from Maya. I apologize if I'm messing up the pronunciation of your name there. We have had between 50 and 90% with one of your competitors, and we have still been kicked out at these connection rates. Why is that? Well, I don't know which competitor you're using, so I can't explain that, and I can't put my fingers behind the technology that they're using. But various automation tools use different technology to reach out to prospects. Dux-Soup is designed to mimic human behavior. So the premise of Dux-Soup is, and this comes from the designer, the methodology that he's followed is that literally Dux-Soup mimics the clicks of the mouse on the screen. That way, we know that the options that Dux-Soup is carrying out, the activities that Dux-Soup is carrying out are the ones that are available through the user interface, which is why, Dux-Soup has to actually open the profile to carry out an organization, to carry out an operation or an action. And that's why you find out, for example, I'm jumping around a little bit here, but we're trying to answer all the questions as they come in. Here under the actions, for example, you can only follow a profile in regular LinkedIn. You can only disconnect if you, and we'll come on to that one in a bit because I know somebody had a question. If you visit a profile in regular LinkedIn, you can only send a personalized message to first degree connections in regular LinkedIn or Sales Navigator. You can't do that in Recruit. So all of these things here are reflective of the user interface. So yeah, that's possibly why. I don't know what the technology is that the competitor was using. So yeah, we also believe that, you know, if you follow the rules that we know, that Dux-Soup's been going nearly 10 years. It's not, you know, not the new kid on the block. This information that's available in this blog post has been built up over a number of years. So do read it, do take it seriously, because the keeping your account safe is of absolute paramount importance to us. And if you follow our recommendations, then you should be fine.
So I've just posted a link to the recommended daily limits on the chat, and I know
a few support link as well, or support article there as well. Yeah, thank you for that. That's great.
Right. So that's there for those that have asked that question.
Cool. All right, so we've covered daily limits. Now, one of the questions, again, I apologize, somebody sent this message to our support team earlier this week, or the back end of last week, about ChatGPT, and it's, you know, the hot topic. Everybody's always, you know, asking about ChatGPT, and, you know, why, who's using it, what are they using it for, what's your feelings on it. We're seeing that it's becoming more prevalent, and we're seeing, you know, for example, certain LinkedIn posts or maybe even job posts are being created through such tools. It's on the radar for Dux-Soup to possibly look at being able to integrate this in the future. Not the absolute priority at the moment. We've got a couple of other things which we'll talk about as we go through today, which we're currently working on. But as an example, I was talking to a user last week. I think it was last week. Yes, it must have been. So this is a scenario which I saw that they were working on here. And I've seen this in Zapier. So basically, they were getting Dux-Soup to auto visit a profile and capture the about section from a LinkedIn profile, using the content of that about section to generate a connection request message in ChatGPT, and then sending that connection request to them, and then monitoring for a response, and then generating messages based upon the campaign topic. And this is something that a lot of people are trying out, testing the water. It is on the radar. I think it's going to become something that's going to become more visible and more available. Of course, these sorts of integrations would only be available in Dux-Soup Turbo, because that's where the API is available. But we're going to see it more and more. It's one of those things, yeah, always handle with care, because it's only the data you get out is only as good as the data you put in. So if you're relying on, you know, the data that Dux-Soup is gathering from LinkedIn, you hope that that's true and reflective, and not people sort of, you know, leading you up the garden path or whatever. So just handle it with care, test it out and see what comes of it. You know, these things are there, you know, it's a very fast evolving space at the moment, and more people are trying things out. But yeah, just be cautious with it, and think about what you're trying to achieve. So that's what I would say about that for now. Maybe we'll get more questions around that as we go through. Another question that we had was around removing connections, and then we'll get to the end of these. Oh, we might have a few more, but removing connections. You can only auto remove LinkedIn connections with Dux-Soup by auto visiting profiles in regular LinkedIn. And yeah, you need to basically generate or create a list of the people you wish to disconnect from. So I've got here a step-by-step that you would want to be able to follow. You find your list. What I would do then is I would then use Dux-Soup to scan the list, edit it, make sure that you've got the correct people on there, and then use the revisit function in Dux-Soup to disconnect from those profiles, just to show you how that would look. So you go into your LinkedIn page, and I don't know, let's just find a list of people. Here we go. So maybe you've got your list of people from LinkedIn. Here we go. We'll go to our people search. Remember, you can only do this in regular LinkedIn. You could actually do this in Sales Navigator and scan it, because you do get the regular LinkedIn URL from there as well. But here we go. I've got a list of people who, you know, are first degree connections. Maybe I want to disconnect with everybody who's based, I don't know, in England. I don't know, maybe. What you would do then is wait for the Dux-Soup icon to turn green. And here in the Dux-Soup options here, we then go to our scan profiles button. We would scan this list, we'd download the CSV file, hit the download data button here after you've scanned it all, and then edit your list, and then go into the revisit data button here, upload your CSV file. Let's go there, let's take that one there. And then if this was the list of people you wanted to then disconnect from, you would go to your Dux-Soup options. And I know I'm flying through this because there's lots of questions coming through. We then go, yep, disconnect from a profile from your network using standard LinkedIn. And personally, then I would also probably tag here, maybe putting them former first degree. So I've got a tag against them, so I know that I've tagged them. I know that I was once connected to them. And then I would go in here and I'd say, yeah, right, Dux-Soup, just go and visit those profiles. And during those auto visits, Dux-Soup would disconnect you from those people. It's one of those things whereby, yeah, you've got 30,000 is the upper limit of your first degree connections. It can be something that people can find useful. Right, there was a question from Werner in Germany around, let's have a look here. This is to do with an integration that he's got with Integromat or Make. Now, unfortunately, yes, it's going to be quite difficult to convey the message. So he's using Dux-Soup and Sales Navigator to have certain data into a Google Sheet. What he wants to do is understand how he can see who's then visiting his profile. Now, unfortunately, you can't automatically see who's visited your profile. That's not something we can auto trigger at the moment. But basically, you can go to this URL here. So your profile views URL. Remember, that's only usually visible to a LinkedIn Premium account. From there, you can scan that list and then download the data as well. So similar to the last one. So if I just go to that link, that page. So if I go, where is it? If I go home here, if I go to who's viewed your profile, this list here, in a second, we can then scan this list when it's turned green, when the icon turns green there, and wait for it to turn green. It will do in a second, and then I can scan this list and gather the information about all the people who have visited my profile in LinkedIn. Unfortunately, yeah, Dux-Soup does check for new connections, but it doesn't automatically check for people who have visited your profile. That's not something we do at the moment. Okay, Beth, do we have some more questions there?
We do. I'm busy trying to answer ones I can quickly as well on their own. Okay, I think let's start at the top, shall we, with Simon, who's been waiting patiently. I'm currently running a campaign with 313 people enrolled, but only a total of 305 is showing as having been invited in the funnel flow. Why would 8 people not be invited? My daily invite limit hasn't been reached.
It could well be that just some people who appear in your search results could be not accepting connection requests from people. It could also be that they have put restriction on their account whereby you can only send them a connection request if you've got their email address. Sometimes we see that in an error message, usually in the funnel flow. That yeah, basically some people put their account on super private, and you have to put an email address in there, in which case Dux-Soup can't autofill that particular data, and therefore it just skips past it and it comes up as a failed. But if you go into the funnel, let's go in there. If we go into our funnel flow, into the Dux dash here, and you look at your activity log, you can actually then see, filter by status, you can then see here what's failed, if anything's failed, and you can then usually see the reason why it's failed. And sometimes there you are, this one here, connection request failed, email address required. So yeah, there are sometimes people who you try to send connection requests to who require an email address. That's the most likely scenario that would have occurred there, Simon.
Okay, hopefully that answered Simon's. We have another question from Joe. We can't seem to prevent Dux-Soup from timing out after as little as 30 messages. Any idea on how they fix that? Might be more of a support question.
I can't seem to prevent Dux-Soup from timing out.
Timing out after as little as 30 messages. They've tried all the various.
A bit more detail would be useful there, because I don't know if that's relating to possibly the number of profiles it's opening per day. What you also have is Dux-Soup will also, let's just go to the Dux-Soup options here, and under the throttling settings, let's turn that all off. You've also got these abilities here that you can get Dux-Soup to it will pause for so many minutes after. I tell you what, it could also be. So you've got the auto pausing function here where it will pause. In order for Dux-Soup to continue to operate, you cannot minimize your browser, and sometimes people forget that. In order to mimic the clicks of the mouse, the browser has to be open in order for Dux-Soup to operate. So it could be that you're minimizing the browser. That's a possibility. If not, then it's possibly something that we need to look at from a support perspective. But double check your throttling settings, have a look in there. And then, yeah, even if you keep a small window open in the bottom corner of your screen with Chrome open, and it can be in the background, that's fine. But Chrome has to be open. You have to remain logged on to LinkedIn, of course, for actions to be performed.
Okay, thank you, Giles. Can you Can you sort people by type of profession, / job title for most any function such as drip campaign? This is from Eric.
Can you sort people by type?
By type of profession for your drip campaigns. I think that's finding the list in.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're beholden to how LinkedIn present the data to you. And the way that they present a search result to you is beholden to their algorithms. So whenever you go in and you carry out some sort of a search, so yeah, for example, like this, let's just carry out a very quick search here.
But you can search on job title and profession, can't you? So especially if you have Sales Navigator, that
you
helps.
can search by that, but you can't sort it. That's the problem. You're presented with the data based upon LinkedIn's algorithms. Now, of course, you could scan a list and then sort it, but that takes an extra step, of course, because you then scan the list, you download the CSV file, and then you then you would need to edit the CSV file to sort people out in the order that you want, and then you would use the revisit tool to the revisit functionality to then prioritize who you want to go into your campaign first.
Yeah, got it. Thanks, Charles.
No problem.
Okay. I have a question from Nitin. How can I change the throttling of the number of connection requests that are sent on a daily basis? And is this only related connection requests and not follow-ups?
Yeah, so as we showed just now under the options, under the throttling settings here, so yeah, Nitin, yeah, go to your user settings here, go to your options, make sure you've got the expert enabled here, expert function option enabled here for the menu, go into the throttling, and this is where you go, you tick this box here, and this is where you can then control all of those things accordingly.
Okay, perfect. So another question from Joe. How can we improve our results before committing to multiple turbo accounts? Someone's not currently seeing the benefits of the software. Quite an open question, that one, in terms of.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find the question. Let me have a look. It was from Joe, yeah? Okay.
Joe.
How can we improve our results before committing to multiple turbo accounts? Yeah, it's about, it's a case of how much, a case of what are you trying to achieve? And this comes down to sort of, building a process. Now, we did a webinar, I think it was about 3 months ago, it might have been longer actually now, I forget now, A/B testing. So for example, you create some similar but different campaigns, and you think about, enrolling a certain number of people into each campaign to see what works best. The way that you improve your results is basically doing more work up front. Everyone thinks, oh great, it's an automation tool, I just click the button and it goes and I can sit back and relax and get on with something else. Actually, no, you have to do work up front in order to build good quality lists, in order to really make sure that you're targeting properly. One of the blog posts which I share with people all the time when I do calls with them, if I go into here and I go to, I think it's this one here, searching and filtering. How can you build good lists? This one here, it's from a while ago, but it's still 100% relevant, and I'm going to stick it into the chat box there straight away. That will take you through how you can build good lists. If you're not building good lists, if you're not finding targets in the right way, then you're always going to struggle. You're always, if you've not got good prospects on your list, then you're always going to struggle to get good numbers. Actually, a little tip that I found the other day, which is quite a good one, and maybe it's going off topic a little bit, Joe, but it might help. So one of the things that a lot of people struggle with is finding people who have certain interests or certain needs at a certain time. So a lot of people talk about using groups or discussion groups or things like that, or reacting to posts. I mean, yeah, the posts that you see. So for example, if we take a post example here, this one here, we can run Dux-Soup against this list here. We've got 252 people. If this was a particular article that was pertinent to your audience, then this could be a great place to run Dux-Soup against. So as well as being able to run Dux-Soup against a list like this, you can also run a Dux-Soup activity against a list of event attendees. So if you register for an event in LinkedIn, you can see the population of the people who have also registered to attend that event. So you know they have that particular requirement or desire or interest at that time. So it can be a really useful source of finding good prospects. It's all about how you find the prospects, and then hopefully you can then go from there. But yeah, it's really a case of just trying it and testing it and seeing what works for you, what your process is. And if you've got a repeatable process, then you can start measuring accurately. A lot of people are a little bit random, especially when they start out first of all with automation. They don't have a set way of working, so it becomes difficult to really measure the success.
And I think the other option, Giles, is to book some time with you to discuss it, one-on-one, if that would help.
They're always available. Our support team as well are fantastic. They will do what they can as well to assist and make sure that you're addressing things in the correct way and making the most of the possibilities that are there.
Great, thank you. Okay, so question from Linda. I would like to understand how I can leverage the Pro features before jumping into the Turbo account. The question is, do I lose the Dux-Soup credits I bought if I should change to Turbo?
Oh no, you don't lose your credits at all. No, so the Dux-Soup credits, the points, the Dux-Soup points are they're just against your account, and you wouldn't lose those if you moved from Pro to Turbo. Yeah, I mean, a lot of what I've been talking about today, of course, is Turbo related. But Pro, yeah, I mean, if you're using Dux-Soup Pro, these are the actions that are available to you here. You can send your connection requests with personalized message. You can send your personalized message to first degree connections. You can still send your in-mails. You can carry out all of these actions here. The in-mail trick that we've got, especially if you've got a Sales Navigator account, is phenomenally successful. It's one of those things, again, we did a webinar about it. It must be almost exactly a year ago now, and I'm going to stick that one in the chat as well, because this is one that was received very, very well by many people. So yeah, Pro, absolutely. The Pro version, yeah, sometimes we focus very much on the Turbo side of things because that's where a lot of the product development is. Anyway, I've put the in-mail article there into the chat box, but yeah, Pro is, you can leave it running. You can get a huge amount of traction from just visiting lots and lots of profiles. A lot of people think that sending out connection request messages and in-mails is the only way to get people to connect with you. It's not. Visiting profiles, leaving the robot to just go and visit hundreds of profiles, everybody who gets a visit from you is going to get a notification. So you can just leave it to run. Some people forget that and they think they have to go in with the hard sell and they have to spend hours writing copy and building campaigns and everything. But there are many different approaches and they're all perfectly valid.
Okay, thanks, Charles. Okay, one from Charles. I've had messages sent twice to some recipients, which was a little embarrassing, and they thought I had written personally. Why would this happen, and will it happen again? And then I have another question from Charles saying, how do I interact on a one-to-one basis when Dux-Soup is running, or should I run it on a separate computer?
Yeah, there was a small problem where some messages got sent in duplicate when we released when there was a release. I think it was the end of March. Very unusual for it to happen, and if that is an issue, Charles, then please do contact our support team as soon as possible and we can jump on it and make sure it doesn't happen again. These sorts of things do very, very occasionally happen, but hopefully it was not too bad. How do I interact on a one-to-one basis when Dux-Soup is running? I make use of the planner. So if you're wanting to reply to people, then make use of the planner function. So if I go into my Dux-Soup options here under the planner, we can see here, this is when the green periods are when I'm happy for Dux-Soup to do stuff for me. Now, I've got mine set up today to not be sending messages while I'm in the middle of a webinar, because I think that might be slightly, it would be interrupting things perhaps a little bit. But, you know, you can use the planner here to determine when you've got periods when you want to send out messages manually, and then when you want Dux-Soup to do its automation. So make use of the planner and make sure that that is how you're doing it. If you say it's all about running on a separate computer, yes, some people do that. Some people just leave Dux-Soup running on a separate computer or maybe on a server. Depends how many profiles you're running as well as to what would be most convenient. So yeah, there are various options there, but yeah, occasionally we do get issues because of course we are a platform that is built upon LinkedIn, and if LinkedIn make changes, that does sometimes have an impact on us. So if you have any problems like that, I urge you to contact our support team as soon as possible so that we can identify if there is an underlying issue, which hopefully we can address as quickly as possible.
Okay, great, thanks, Giles. Now I've got one from Nicola. I've got a couple from Nicola here actually. Is Dux-Soup a CCPA service provider? Now, do you know what a CCPA service provider is, Giles? Because if not, I was having a little look and it wasn't very clear.
I am not.
Maybe expand on that, then we can try and come back and answer that.
I'm assuming, is this
so it's to do with and the other one I can try and find out a bit more. Can you trigger a LinkedIn advertising campaign to audiences based on a workflow stage?
So CCPA will have to take that one away. Can you repeat the other one?
So can you trigger a LinkedIn advertising campaign to audiences based on a workflow stage?
A workflow stage in what?
I guess in Dux-Soup. So we're looking at people that might have qualified in, and then you can send them to a LinkedIn advertising campaign. So in LinkedIn ads.
Don't believe so, but we'll take that one away and have a look accordingly.
Okay. Okay. So one from Dave. I've been trying to learn how Dux-Soup finds email addresses for second and third degree connections, as there are times when it finds 70% of emails and other times when I get less than 10%. I've been told that it has to do with the privacy settings. Can you expand on this?
Yeah, it depends purely upon the population of people in your list and whether they've set their settings to private. So can we see that? Has it ever been possible to see their email address before or not? It's as simple as that, Dave. Unfortunately, yeah, we have no control over what people have set their privacy settings on. So yeah, we're just beholden to the data that we can find and see. So yeah, that's one of those things. It's potluck a lot of the time. Depends on the nature of the search you're carrying out. Often the industry as well. Certain industries you see a lot more data for than others. It's a little bit potluck, unfortunately.
Okay, thanks, Jazz. So I have one here from Sasha. I have just subscribed to Pro. I would like to send a short message to my approximately 11,000 contacts. I need a bit of assistance on how to set that up, please.
Okay, let's do this one quickly then, Sasha. So first of all, you need to do is find a way to list all of your 11,000 contacts. Now that's easier said than done, because when you carry out a search in regular LinkedIn, and some of this is a little bit basics for some people, if you carry out a search in regular LinkedIn, they only show you the first 1,000 results. So you're going to miss 10,000 of your results. If you've got Sales Navigator, you do the search, you get 2,500 results. Now, that doesn't mean you can't see all of your connection requests or all of your connections. If I just go into my, let's clear this all a second and let's get rid of that. So if I go into Sales Navigator, because that's probably the easier place to do it, to be honest, go in here and you go get first degree connections. So these are my first degree connections. I've got 3,000 plus here. What you can do then, and this is the same in regular LinkedIn a little bit as well. What we could do here is we could then, if you've got Dux-Soup Pro, if you want to send a message to everybody, you go into your Dux-Soup actions here, you turn on your send personalized message and you put in your message here accordingly, and you make that message all nice and clear. You recommended tag with a message number, message 1, 2023. I don't know, something like that. You give it a tag. Always tag people when you carry out an action. Reason for that is because you don't want to send the same message to other people. You want to send the same message to multiple people. We then go into our skipping rules and we say, yeah, skip profiles if they've already got the tag. That way, if they've already got the tag, they don't get the message again. So we do that one. So we're sending our message, we're doing that. And then we would go back to Sales Navigator. And there are different ways you could do this. You could, for example, filter it by location or industry and sort of narrow down your 11,000 targets into, so we say, manageable chunks. And then you'd literally hit visit profiles and then let Dux-Soup perform the actions on the screen and keeping Chrome open, and it would work its way through. What you can also do then is you could also enable down the bottom here within Sales Navigator, exclude anybody you've messaged. So gradually you would end up then with a clean result all the time. And then also thinking about your daily limits, think about how many messages you're sending out a day. Currently I've got mine 150, so if you've got 11,000 to message, it's going to take a while. But that's how I would do it from a very high level and a quick whistle stop tour there, Sasha. I hope that's useful.
Well, thank you. Okay, question about the free version. What's the value of it if I can't run campaigns? What can I do as an individual user with the free version?
I think they mean a free version of LinkedIn.
I think it's Dux-Soup free version.
With Dux-Soup free, the free version of Dux-Soup, you can basically auto visit profiles. That's essentially what you can do with the free version of Dux-Soup. If you've got free LinkedIn, then yeah, you can do all of these things. If you've got a paid version of Dux-Soup, you can carry out all of the functionality from Dux-Soup. It's not entirely sure whether you mean the free version of Dux-Soup or the free version of LinkedIn, but free Dux-Soup allows you to auto visit a certain number of profiles per day. And then, yeah, they would get the notifications. Of course, the functionalities that are available with Pro and Turbo, yeah, are related to the price that you pay for those editions.
Okay, thanks, Charles. Question from Danielle. If I make an update to a campaign, i.e. change the text in a follow-up message, will those changes apply to leads that are already enrolled in that campaign or only new leads that you enroll from then on?
Hi, Danielle. It's just if you change the messages later in the campaign, it goes, yeah, because it's only queuing up one message at a time, as I said at the start of the presentation. Let's go back to my drip campaigns here. Dux-Soup's only queuing up one message at a time now. So if we take this one here, so for example, if I enroll a bunch of people into this campaign today, and I tomorrow think, oh, I need to update my connection request message. No one will have received my connection request by tomorrow because there's a 5-day delay between the follow and the connection request. So as long as the connection request has not been queued up, I can edit it. As long as message 2 hasn't been queued up, I can edit it and people will get the new one. So you can change things on the fly and there's much greater chance of catching those updates. Yeah, so hopefully that answers that question. There's a couple of questions that I had earlier which I ought to just address as well, because Diane emailed in earlier. Let me just answer these ones if that's okay, Beth. When using the automated enrollment process is the way to prevent someone being enrolled twice. You can't enroll the same profile into the same campaign twice. You can enroll them into different campaigns, of course, but you can also use the blacklisting function to make sure that you don't enroll people there. Her second question of 4 was, when a connection responds, their response shows up in the funnel flow in the Dux Dash. Can I reply to them so the whole conversation shows in Dux Dash? Unfortunately, not at the moment. The campaign messages show up in the Dux Dash in the funnel flow, but you do not see manual messages being populated there in the funnel flow at the moment, unfortunately. Can I start a campaign to first-degree connections without having to put the invitation and connection at the start of the campaign? Unfortunately, at the moment, all campaigns have to include a connection request section. So I've got here a first-degree campaign that I've labeled. But if you enroll a first-degree prospect into this campaign, the connection request part gets skipped because Dux-Soup, because you can't in LinkedIn send a connection request to a first-degree connection. So if you enroll a first-degree connection, Dux-Soup looks to see what degree of connection it is and then queues up the appropriate action relative to their connection degree of connectivity, shall we say. And there was one last one. When I have done a search and created a list of connections to enroll automatically campaign, do I need to keep that window open until the enrollment is complete? Yes, you do. But enrolling is very quick. You go to your search result here, you click on the Dux-Soup icon, you hit the enroll button there, and you will see very quickly Dux-Soup will scoot through in a matter of a few minutes, depending on how many people you're enrolling, of course. If I press the enroll button here and I say, if I wanted to, example, for enroll 2,500, it's going to take quite a few minutes to do that. But if, for example, if I enrolled just 100 people, it would be done in 2 or 3 minutes. But that tab has to remain open until that enrollment action is complete. Sorry about that, Beth. I wanted to make sure I answered Diane's questions that she got in earlier. I didn't want to miss them out.
Okay, a quick one for you then, Giles. Can you add attachments in the follow-up campaigns?
Sadly, not at the moment. It's something that I know is on our feature request page, and it's something that we have under discussion with the developer. Currently, we can't put attachments. You can put URLs, of course, and they render correctly when you send a message. So you can put, links to, you can put your images onto a web page or whatever it is it may be, or your documentation or your blog posts or whatever. They render correctly, so it looks like it's you see the imagery correctly. We did a webinar, I think, in the lead up to Christmas, how to send a personalized Christmas message, for example, using an image generator where you could pull out the first name of a prospect and have some sort of a greeting sent via a URL. So yeah, that's one thing, but at the moment, no, we can't send attachments.
Okay, thank you. I'm just trying to find ones which haven't been. Okay, here's an interesting one for you, Giles. Do you foresee adding Bullhorn CRM integration in the future?
Yeah, we have been in contact with Bullhorn, and I have to say that I'm trying to put this in a politically correct way. Yeah, at the moment we don't see it happening imminently, but it is something that we have explored. It would be great to see, should we say, a little bit more a warmer feel from their side. Should we say that would be nice. We're always looking to see if we can increase our integrations, and if people have requests, you can always go to our user suggestions page, and I'll stick the URL into the chat box, because if you upvote things and they get they get a lot of traction, then of course that increases the chances of something getting implemented. So yeah, our user suggestions page is there. Please upvote if you require something, or if something's particular importance. Bullhorn have their own views on integrations, which are different to some of the other experiences we've seen so far. So yeah, it's possibly one that may not be happening imminently anyway.
Okay, thank you. Some of these have already been answered. Can I track Dux-Soup activity in Pipedrive from Parker?
Can I track Dux-Soup activity from Pipedrive? Yeah, absolutely, yeah. If you've got the integration enabled, and for anyone who's not seen it, yeah, you go to Dux-Soup, to go to the Dux dash, you go to your CRM connections, and you define what data you want to appear in Pipedrive here. And what you'll see then is here in Pipedrive, and I've got Pipedrive open already. It's almost like I knew there was going to be a Pipedrive question. So one of the things you can see here in Pipedrive, let's just open a profile. So we can see here, actually you get to see the system tags that have happened in Dux-Soup in Pipedrive. So you can see here that this individual here, you can see here that I put him into my lead gen and growth hacking test campaign, and you can see which campaign he's been enrolled and invited and accepted against. So here you can actually go in and see all of that information under the Dux-Soup tags, and then yeah, take your chosen action there accordingly. And you can see here, you can see your connection request, of course, accordingly, and then you also see any replies there if you've enabled all of these options here. As you can see, they're pretty self-explanatory, I think.
Okay, thank you. One from Paul. Whenever I visit an individual profile, Dux-Soup takes over, scrolls through the profile, opens the contact page, then tries to send a connection request. How do I turn this off?
Okay, I think that possibly, is it Paul you said? One of the things you need to make sure, Paul, is that you do not have this one turned on. the run automated actions while manually browsing profiles. I've seen that with a few users. If you've got that enabled, so for example, if I enabled this one and I enabled this one, every time I manually open a profile, it's going to try and run whatever I've got selected here. So make sure that that one's turned off. I've seen some people turn that one on by error, in error. We sometimes use it because if you want to check to see if messages are going correctly and stuff like that. But yeah, this is probably the one that's causing that, because it sounds to me like when you're manually opening a profile, Dux-Soup is trying to gather the data from that profile and then carry out any of these actions that you've enabled here. And that's probably what's happening there. That would be my my best guess on that one.
Thank you. Okay, when I do visits via Dux and send the data via make/Integromat to a Google Sheet, I sometimes get 2 or 3. So I'm just reading.
2 or 3 line.
One new rows in a Google Sheet for each visited profile, so I have duplicates. Why is this happening, and how can I prevent it? From Werner. Another question from Werner.
Oh, from Werner again. Okay, yeah. I'm not going to go into make at the moment, but I can explain what's happening here. So there's a way to test this as well, Werner. If you want to email me, Werner, then you're very welcome, and I can sort of maybe send you a bit more detail about this, because trying to think the best way to explain this. When you, and we're going to disappear down a bit of a techie rabbit hole potentially here, apologies. When Dux-Soup carries out an auto visit or a visit to a profile, there's several phases to the activity. So from a web, if you think of it from a webhook perspective, and I'm just trying to think of where I can find the appropriate data. If I go into our support pages and I go to the webhook, by example, yeah, essentially here, when you carry out a visit to a profile, there's at least 2 events if you're visiting in regular LinkedIn. So you'll see here there's a visit, an event visit type visit here, and there's this one here. There's 2 different versions. There's a create version, which is the first phase of opening the profile, and then there's a second phase, sometimes a third phase as well, which are update events, which is Dux-Soup gathering further data. And sometimes, depending on your scenario and how it's been written and how you've integrated, it can be that each and every single, the create and then the 2 updates, get captured. So that is possibly what's happening there. So you could add a filter in there to make sure you only capture the update events, and that might be the solution you're looking for. Or visit the profiles in Sales Navigator. That's the other alternative there. But you're welcome to, if you message our support team, they can put you in touch with me, Werner, and we can pick that up perhaps offline.
Okay, I've got a question, quick one again. How do I, in fact, before I say this, a few people have asked about a campaign, and if someone responds to a message, will they get pulled out of a campaign? So I think just to confirm that anyone that responds will automatically drop out of a campaign. But someone else wants to know, how do I unenroll people from a campaign?
You can't unenroll somebody from a campaign. Once you've enrolled them, then they're in the campaign. You can add a blacklisted tag to them. So just to explain here, if we go to my funnel flow here and we just look at one of my campaigns, let's take this one as an example. Leave that one to update a second. One of the things you can do is you can blacklist a profile. To prevent them from going any further in a campaign. You can manually blacklist people by adding a blacklisted tag to them, because under your options you'll find here that you've got the exclude blacklisted profiles option there. You can always have that enabled, and that effectively means that anybody who responds or that you've blacklisted will get excluded from any further campaign activity. So there's this article here around blacklisting. Qualifying out, that's probably the easiest way to unenroll somebody from a campaign. Thinking about it, of course, you see it on the screen and then you remember. So go back to my Dux dash here. So here, this is a campaign example. These are the people who I've enrolled. If I wanted to, for example, look at the people who've responded to me, these are the people who've responded. They are, if you like, temporarily blacklisted because they've responded. They're not going to get anything else in this campaign, these 59 people. And as and when this updates in a second, we can then see those 59 people. And then what I can do is show you, any second now, it will do. It's the wonders of doing things live. It should update in a second. There we go. These people here are the people who've responded, of course. So here I can qualify them out, for example, yeah, I can qualify them out. That would effectively unenroll them from the campaign. They won't receive anything else. If I want to put them back into the campaign, of course, if I've got messages in the campaign, I still want them to receive after they've responded to me, because sometimes people just respond with a thumbs up. It's great, but it doesn't tell me much. But so I probably sometimes want to reflow them and put them back in the campaign until they come back with a more, should we say, valuable answer or more quantifiable answer. So I can reflow them, qualify them in. Again, that also takes them out from sending them anything else in the campaign. Qualify them out, of course, is the other option. You can always see who you've qualified out as well, because you can see here all of these stages: enrolled, invited, accepted, etc., etc. Click on the dustbin there. That's where you can see your qualified out prospects as well, if you so desire, and you can grab them back from there if you accidentally qualify them out.
Okay, we've still got quite a few questions, Joel.
We've not done this before, so it's a bit of an experiment. We weren't sure how popular it was going to be.
So a question from, in fact, let's look at this. Premise law, I think I've said. So something's obviously failing. For us, it fails as well select when he's put the code. So it's obviously within that code, it's saying not found within timeout. I don't know if you can see this in the questions box, Giles, the actual code itself. They've said it would be good to auto resume after failing rather than having to trigger that by hand. So if an action's failing, how can they auto resume that action?
I'm just trying to find the question.
The premise law, it's kind of halfway down.
Oh yes, I've got it here. Yeah. As it fails as well, select a blah 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 blah. Not found within timeout. It would be good to auto resume after failing. We are constantly looking to try and improve the handling, the error handling. So if we've got examples of failure messages and we can understand the failure messages, then we can improve the error handling message so that we can understand what it is. This is one I think I've seen when, I won't say it because I'm not 100% sure. We can have a look at that one further. We've got that in the text here, so I'll ping that through to support, and we'll try and pick that one up. Yeah, no problems.
Okay, thank you. We've covered pipe drive. Can I track Dux-Soup activity in pipe drive?
Simon's got a question that I saw he'd sent before, and I've just spotted it on the list here. Another question: what's the most effective, easiest way to enroll my existing HubSpot contacts without LinkedIn details into a Dux-Soup campaign? Simon, I've been mulling over this one, and there isn't an easy way. I think there are probably tools out there where you can find LinkedIn URLs based upon HubSpot details, because essentially that's what you need to do to be able to get the action. To get the actions performed in Dux-Soup, you need the LinkedIn or Sales Navigator URL for that to be able to be executed. It depends on how many you're talking about, how many people you're talking about, as to whether it's worth investing in a tool or getting someone to just sit down and go through and find those people in LinkedIn and gather their LinkedIn URLs, visit them and have the data again put into HubSpot. There's no simple way of doing that, unfortunately, Simon. Yeah. I will continue. I'll put my thinking cap on though to see if I can come up with a better solution than that. Simon, I'll make a note of that one.
Okay, question from Parker. If you're in sales, would it be more effective to send multiple in-mails in your drip campaigns before a connection request? Any stats on that one? It's probably a case of testing
in-mails, yeah. To be honest, you're limited by the number of credits you've got. In-mail credit, in-mail credits are a thing, of course. If you're in-mailing people who've not got open link profiles, I should say, then you have a limit. You only have so many that you can send. To be honest, I never think there's any point in sending more than one in-mail to somebody. If they don't respond to an in-mail, then they're unlikely to respond to 2 in-mails. Personally, that's just my view. And yeah, in-mail credits are a finite, limited. You have a limited number of them, so use them carefully. If you can send free in-mails, make the use of those free in-mails. That we've got the workaround which I sent on the chat earlier. So yeah, you can do that accordingly. But yeah, yeah, if you're going to send an email in a campaign, I wouldn't bother sending more than one, because if people don't respond to one, I think they're unlikely to respond to two.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Sorry, done that one. Will the LinkedIn website detect Dux-Soup? I think we've kind of touched on this with your safety.
Yeah, just a one on that. Yeah, I mean, we have, I mean, there's all sorts of safety features built into Dux-Soup to make sure that it runs as under the radar as possible. One of the things to point out is always run the robots slowly. So the robot speed here under your Dux-Soup throttling settings, don't run it at 200, 300, 500 visits an hour. It's asking for trouble. Always run it at a slower speed, because then it looks more like a human being. I personally always run mine at random. It's just how I choose to do it. If it's random and you have it pausing for so many minutes after so many visits, it's another way to make it look even more random. You want it to look as genuine as possible. It's not physically achievable really to visit 500 an hour. There are some use cases where some people do that, but it's unlikely even that your laptop or your device that you're using would allow you to visit that many in an hour anyway. So yeah, just be sensible, respect the LinkedIn limits, and get it to run like that.
Thank you. And can Dux-Soup enroll different campaigns under different navigator searches at the same time? From Jonathan. So can you enroll into different campaigns from Sales Nav at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, enrollment activities are not a long thing, so I'm not sure you would want to necessarily have. I would only have one version of the robot running at once, if that makes sense. So in other words, if I've got a search result like this and I want to enroll, I don't know, 100 people in here, 120 people into this campaign, I would go in here and I'd enroll 120 people into this campaign, and that would take 2 or 3 minutes. And then I would go to my next search result and then say, okay, my next search result, I now want to put them into, I don't know, campaign A, and I want to put another 120 in there. You can have lots of different enrollment actions having been carried out, no problems at all. I wouldn't have 2 versions of the robot on 2 tabs running at the same time, because there will be the potential overlap of data.
Okay, I've got a question about comparing to Linked Helper. How does Dux-Soup compare to Linked Helper? I don't know if you're aware of that one, Giles, at all.
Yeah, we've got a comparison chart. So if they can ping a message to our support team, then we've got a pretty comprehensive comparison chart there. Linked Helper, yeah. Oh yeah, I don't know the price, the latest pricing details of Linked Helper, but yeah, I believe they go through LinkedIn's API, proprietary API primarily, but yeah. If you could ping a message to our support team, then they'll be able to share some more information with you, because we've got a pretty comprehensive comparison chart.
Thank you. And I've had a message from Simon Williams in response. I don't know if you've heard this about the HubSpot. The best I've come up with is a 2-week trial of HubSpot Sales Hub Pro. Connect LinkedIn Sales Navigator app from HubSpot Marketplace and save to a list in Sales Navigator, then enroll prospects into a Dux-Soup campaign. So that was what you were talking about, if that helps at all.
That's very useful. Cool. I saw somebody was asking, does Dux-Soup work on an iPad? I don't know who it was that was asking. You can access the app from an iPad, as in you can go into the DuxDash and control things from here. You can build your campaigns and stuff, but Dux-Soup still needs to run on the browser in Chrome. It still needs to run there. It doesn't work on the mobile app, as it were. But yeah, if you've got Chrome on there, then you should be able to automate things on Chrome. But yeah, it needs to remain on, of course.
Thanks, Giles. Okay, one from Richard. I have about 5,000 connections and have had Sales Nav for about 5 years. Please give me an estimate of about how many connection requests I can send per day. I've done 45 without an issue.
Okay. I have to put my maths head on now, my calculator. Let me think. So 5,000 first degree connections. Let's have a think. Yeah, if you're at 45, then to be honest, the best thing to do, Richard, honestly, if you're at 45 at the moment and you're not having any issues, then next week up it to 50, and then week after that, sorry, there was a fly in the room. So a week after that, go to 55 and keep growing. Yeah, say with an account, I'm trying to remember now what exactly was an account that I saw last year had sort of, I think, 7,000 or 8,000 connections, and they were able to get up to sending between 500 and 600 invites in a week. It depends on how quickly people accept your connection request. That's one of the things that we have no control over, of course. But I would just keep growing. Look at the article that I've sent as well, because that's got some numbers in there as well, some actual numbers in there, which I can't remember off the top of my head because, yeah.
It says, I mean, the article says 3%, so 3% every week of 5,000 is 150 a week. But you're obviously doing more than that already, Richard.
Yeah, obviously over that already. So, you know, I would continue to grow slowly. And
Oh,
yeah,
sorry, that's daily then. That's daily actually. So that would be 150 a day.
That's a huge number. And you know, I'd say it's unlikely you're going to get maybe to that number, but you may do if you're getting good response rates. Now, one of the things you will get at some point, and we've all had it. Well, I'm not necessarily everyone's had it, but you can see here on my screen, if I go to my throttling tab, you see here, yeah, I got the pop up at the beginning of on the 10th of February that I reached my LinkedIn invitation limit when I was testing these things. So, you know, at some point you'll get that pop up and says you're out of invites for now. Please try again next week. And actually, what you usually find is a day later, once a bunch of people have accepted, it gets released and you can carry on sending invites. So it's just a little slap on the wrist, and yeah, you wait 24 hours and hopefully people accept, and then you can move on. You just throttle it back a little bit, and then you know roughly where your limit is.
Okay, thanks, Giles. A question from Mark. Every time I click on scan data, I get 0 results. Does that make sense? And I'm assuming this might be downloading the scan data.
There is something that I've noticed with a couple of users recently. And sorry, who was it that asked the question?
Mark.
Mark, yeah, sorry, Mark. Yes, so something I spotted with somebody last week as well. Depends on what list you're on, of course, because there's lots of lists you can scan as well. But you need to go into your Dux-Soup options. So we'll just do it from the beginning. So we click on our Dux-Soup icon, we go to our Dux-Soup options. Make sure that under the browser setting, you are recording profile data. I noticed for somebody the other day that was unticked, and then they were getting 0 results as well. So make sure that the record profile data button is ticked here, and then you should, hopefully when you go to your list, you then scan, you should then get data. If you're not getting data after double checking that, please reach out to our support team, because it may be something specific to the list you're using, and we can then, you can then follow that up accordingly.
Okay, we've got a couple. So CCPA is Dux-Soup, a CCPA service provider, is like the US GDPR, Giles. We've also got another question. Does Dux-Soup comply with LinkedIn's data privacy policy?
You can read all about that on our website. If you go to the About Us section, you can then see all of that under there relating to the data privacy settings of the data privacy compliance of Dux-Soup. It's all available on our homepage. Okay,
great. Thank you. There was another one that I think was sent in prior. Let me just check this one's been answered. Oh yeah, we've done that one. What about the a couple of integrations? Crelate, C-R-E-L-A-T-E. Have you heard about that one?
Sorry, C-R-E-L-A-T-E.
Crelate. Is there a CRM integration? Crelate.
Crelate. That's a new one on me. I wonder if it's is it?
I think there's another one about Pably. Pably, will there be an integration with Pably? It has lifetime deals, so in the long run, Pably is much cheaper than Make, Integramat, or Zapier.
Oh, okay. Oh, I've heard of Pably before. Yeah. I will have to have a look. Yeah, I don't have an answer straight away, but yeah, I will. I'll have a look, and yeah, I've definitely seen Pably before, so we will have a look and see what possibilities there are there.
Okay. Okay, I'm not sure, this is Sasha, how to get to the Dux-Soup settings. I have an extension on my Avast Chrome browser, and when I click it, I get a message that Dux-Soup is unable to access your Google ID.
Okay, so that sounds like the security settings within your browser. If you're using Avast browser, I didn't hear which the browser was there.
Avast.
Sorry?
It says I have an extension on my Avast Chrome browser, and when I click it, I get a message that Dux-Soup is unable to access your Google ID.
Okay, so it sounds like there's either a security setting from Avast which is blocking the access to your Chrome ID. If you could just ping a message to the support team, they should be able to help you. And if needs be, we'll just arrange a screen share and we'll identify what the problem is. Because basically, yeah, in order to log on to your Chrome account, Dux-Soup needs certain access. It may be that you've got some cookies blocked as well in the browser, and that could be an explanation as to why that's happening.
Okay, thank you. A question from David. Do you know if LinkedIn cares about multiple IP addresses, accessing their site at the same time? As an agency, we're getting clients asking if we could just run it for them, so obviously not on their same IP.
We're seeing a huge number of agencies using Dux-Soup. We're seeing a lot of users outsourcing their LinkedIn activity, and we're seeing very few issues regarding we're not seeing any issues regarding that sort of stuff, David. Yeah, a lot of people are using VPSs and that kind of thing, so yeah, to run multiple accounts on. So yeah, no, we're not seeing any issue there. I think there's an understanding from LinkedIn that people use it as a commercial tool, especially if you've got paid accounts, and they also understand that people are constantly accessing from different environments. It could be from your mobile phone, it could be from the Sales Navigator app on your mobile phone, it could be from your laptop, it could be from your iPad, it could be from all sorts of different places. So yeah, yeah, we don't see any issues with regards to that now.
Okay, I think there's a couple of questions here which I know you're going to kind of come on to. First of all, about recruitment, how is it best to use Dux-Soup as a recruiter? And second of all, how do we get more one-to-one time with you, Giles, I think, or how can they get some sessions on that?
It's a perfect lead in, Beth. Thank you for that. Yeah, I think we've been going long enough. We've done, yeah, wow, nearly 75 minutes. So hopefully this has been useful for everybody. We've still got a good number of people online as well. So booster and technical calls, you can book these through our website. If you just go to our support pages and you type in the, I think you just type in booster, you'll find the links to these. Yeah, quite happy to help people. We've been running a lot of these recently. We run training sessions. We always record the call as well if you require, so you can share it in your organization or with your colleagues or whatever, so that you can then use that as a resource to build upon and share with other people as well. So yeah, feel free to go to our website, book those time slots up, and yeah, we'll do our absolute best to facilitate those. And a great lead in there to in 2 weeks' time, we're going to be looking at using LinkedIn Recruiter. So we've got a recruiter account, and I can just go through the options that are available for you when you're using this for recruitment. And if you're using the recruiter platform, what the subtle differences are between the regular LinkedIn Sales Nav Recruiter, and just sort of giving you some thoughts and some use cases as to what people are doing there, how they're utilizing the power of Recruiter, because you've got all those extra facilities with regards to search criteria and building projects and creating prospect lists and that kind of stuff. So yeah, we'll be going through that in 2 weeks' time. So can register on the website now, and of course, as always, the recording will be made available after the session as well. So if you can't make it live, then yeah, don't feel like you're going to miss out. Ah, there you are.
Back. And for those of you that are left to the very end, well done and thank you. And I did say at the beginning that we would give you an opportunity to win one of these lovely caps. So all we are asking for, and really this is for our users, because we'd love a review from you of Dux-Soup. Now I'm posting a link now onto our Capterra site, which has some Dux-Soup reviews on it. It's not one we've actively got reviews for, so we don't have that many. And if you are a user and would be happy to give us a review, then in return, we would be happy to send you one of our lovely caps. So if you're not a user, I've also sent you above just a link to Dux-Soup. You can go and install it and start using it and have a play with it. But obviously, to review us, you'd need to have used the tool. So that's there. Any questions we may not have answered, apologies. There have been so many. I've tried to go through them all and make sure we've answered all of them. But if not, just email us at info@dux-soup.com. That's the support team, and we will get back to you out of this session. So thank you very much for joining us today, and hopefully we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, bye-bye.